Good morning. It's a cold day in March in Wisconsin, so we're not camping yet, but we're getting ready. We're just kind of gearing things up, and we're planning to move ahead forward with some plans to go to Alaska for the summer. So we decided it was probably a good idea to order this new toy, and it came in the mail today. So Steve prefers to be the actor in my videos, but not speaking. So I get to do the narrating while he does the action. He's the good-looking one of the two of us. So he'll do the unboxing. What did we get today? We have a box. I'm gonna hold it up to the camera. It's a box from Bluetti, and it says Charger 1, DC to DC charger. Please take note that we do have a Bluetti 200L, is it, Steve? A Bluetti Power Station that's called AC 200L, I believe. It's a big one. It's the one with the 30 amp plug on the front of it. So this is going to enable us to charge the Bluetti while we're driving down the road from DC to DC charging. And I'll explain in a minute that there's various ways to charge our Bluetti after he gets things unloaded here. Oh, it looks like it's packed well. Ooh, there's the cord. And instructions. Look at that. You want to hold it up closer to the camera? This is a DC to DC charging unit. It will enable us to charge our Bluetti Power Station while we're driving down the road. There's various ways to charge it. One, which is, of course, with a regular 120 household plug-in, if you have a plug-in somewhere, a VAC plug-in. Another way is to charge it by solar, which we can do, but what happens when you don't have a sunny day or if you're traveling on the road? The third way that you can charge it is by having a plug-in that goes to a cigarette lighter as you drive down the road. But that's a very slow process of charging because that's only, what, 10 amps, Steve?
Yes.
Okay, so this unit takes the voltage from the battery, the driving battery, and it boosts it up and increases it to go straight to the Bluetti, and it does not use the cigarette port at all. This is using the alternator of the engine. It's a smart unit which allows you to charge as you're driving down the road, and it makes sure it does not overstrain your alternator, and it shuts down when you're done and stopping and turning off the ignition. So it's only running when you're driving, when your alternator is putting out sufficient amps. And on our Winnebago, which is a Sprinter chassis with a Mercedes engine, the alternator is very large. And once the main battery is, charged up while you're driving, the rest of the power is just excess power. And we'll be able to access that now to charge the Bluetti while we're driving. Our Bluetti sometimes rides in the back compartment in the motorhome, or it rides in the far back in the cargo trailer. So either way, we can plug into it with our 30 amp motorhome cord and use that power, or we can use this Bluetti to charge our onboard batteries. So right now he's loosening up the little lug, or what are they called? They're with an Allen wrench. They're little lugs where you can insert the cabling from both sides. One is the cord that goes from the battery all the way back to this unit, and it just hooks right on the battery posts. We're going to add an extra fuse at the battery post. And then the other end is where you attach whatever cord comes with your power station. And this will charge, they say about 90 to 95% of the power stations out there on the market. And I'll put a link below to the information included with this Bluetti. And most power stations come with some type of a cord that will allow you to power them with solar. And that's the same cord you can use in the little lugs on here. Now, the one that we have right here is what?
These are the MC4.
MC4 connectors, which are solar connectors.
And these would be the output.
Now, these are the outputs of the DC to DC charger.
So just put them into the output, minus and plus, and then tighten down the Allen head screws.
They're like little nub lug screws, correct?
Yeah.
And the ends of that cord are knurled up pretty nice. They're almost a little square shape, so they don't slide out. They have little ridges on them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you have the positive and the positive and the negative and the negative. There we go, snug them up good. And it's probably a good idea to check them after you go down the road a little while. Lumping and bumping along.
Yeah. Make sure they're snugged up. You don't have to do too tight, I guess.
And here's the supplied cord. This is about 15 feet long that goes up to the engine battery. Oops. Here, I just wanted to show these neatly knurled edges. So you kind of crimp them in a square pattern.
Yeah, you can put that one in there if you want.
Well, let's see, negative.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. And the positive has this nice handy breaker, which is great for turning it on and off. But we also want to put a fused, what do they call it? A fused post fuse?
Post fuse on the battery.
On the battery itself. Because if there's ever a problem between the battery and this unit, you want it to fire off and the fuse to, you know, take the brunt of it way back by the battery and not all the way down this cord. Now this cord is covered with a really nice sheath for when we fish it through the firewall or wherever we're going to be fishing it through to get to the back compartment on our motorhome. And that'll be part 2 of this, where we're actually going to install it. Comes with various brackets and screws to help install it. Let's get our Bluetti over here and just show where it hooks up. While he's out doing that, I'll do a quick shot out the backyard. Most of our snow has melted. We are due to get some more again. And of course, we're in Wisconsin. We can get snow as late as mid to late April, so we're not done yet. But right now, most of our snow melted the last couple days. We had some warm weather, and we are looking forward to getting some traveling done. We went out in the driveway the other day in the motorhome and spent some time in there taking some measurements, going through cabinets and drawers, kind of reassessing what we're going to take along to Alaska. So while he's grabbing our Bluetti, here is the DC to DC charger 1. Here's the specs. Here's the connector that comes with it with the MC4. These go to the solar cord plug-in. Here's the long cord that goes to the engine battery, and it has ring type terminals on the end. And of course, we said we're going to add a fuse on here. This is the breaker that's on the other end of that line up close to the Bluetti itself. Here are the various other brackets and screws and extra lugs, etc., that go with it, along with the instructions. Okay, here is our Bluetti. It is the AC 200L, 2400 watt, 2048 watt hours Bluetti unit. What we like about this one is it has a 30 amp plug to plug our motorhome directly into it. And of course, all the other regular household type plugs on here. It's got the USB and the C's. It's even got cigarette lighter type plugs. It's quite handy. Plus it hooks up through our Wi-Fi and we can control it with our phones when we have our Starlink going. And incidentally, there is one last way to charge it that I forgot to mention. When our generator is running, it can charge through the regular 120 volt household outlets. Okay, so Steve brought in the Bluetti, and here he brought in the cords that come from Bluetti. This is the solar cord, and the ends of it have the MP4 connectors.
MC4.
Or MC4, excuse me. And that's what he's going to connect here into this. Positive to positive. There's only one way to connect them. Negative into negative. Okay, and you see right, hold it up please. There we go, positive to positive, negative to negative. And the other end of this cord goes into the side of our Bluetti. And it has a screw ring that makes it secure so it doesn't get bumped off. Okay, now if we were out in the motorhome and if this cord or hose was already, long cord, was already attached to the battery, we would have the whole thing set up already and we would be able to charge this unit while we're driving down the road. But of course, that'll come on part 2. And this unit also has an app that we can control it right from our phones. Now, if you are using any other version of Power Station than the Bluetti, you can go into the app and adjust the power output of this unit. If you are using a Bluetti product, there is a pull-down menu where you actually put in your model of your specific Bluetti, which we would put in the AC 200L, so it's matched perfectly. And we let the rest of it do its thing, and it will charge up the Bluetti as we drive. We use the Bluetti for charging our e-bikes. We use it for running anything that we want in the campground while we're in the campsite, or we plug the motorhome directly into it, and it helps supplement the motorhome draw because we only have lead-acid batteries in the motorhome. On a Winnebago of our year, 2016, it's quite a process to change them over to lithium. So instead of doing that on our motorhome, we decided to just use a Bluetti. So, are you ready for part 2? Maybe on a sunshiny day that's a little warmer, right, Steve?
That sounds good to me.
Okay, so we'll end this one here. And again, I'll put a link below of this DC to DC unit, and then also I'll put in a link to our blog post when we first got our Bluetti and why we're so excited about it. Okay, it's another day, and our order came in from O'Reilly's, and here is a little fuse that's 60 amp that's hooked onto the positive post of our battery, with the end of the positive line of our Bluetti DC to DC charger cord, the positive, and the negative one is right here over to the negative battery. This line is fished back through a grommet in the wall of that unit, between the seats, through a chamber where there's already some other hydraulic lines and hoses and things, and other wires that goes up over the drive shaft. Okay, now we're going over to the passenger side in our storage compartment that's closest to the door. And this is where our Bluetti resides. This is the AC 200L Bluetti, and it's capable of powering our rig with the 30 amp plug. It's got some regular household 120 AC plugs. It has some C and USB plugs. It also has some cigarette lighter plugs on it for out power. In power, coming in, the different ways to charge this are, of course, the new unit that we've just added, the DC to DC charger. And the wire that Steve fed through from the driving battery came through this area of the wall with a rubber grommet, and it's tucked in behind that styrofoam for padding. Here's the little breaker at the end of the cord of the positive line, and the positive and negative feed into the Bluetti DC to DC charger. The other end of the charger comes out to this MC4 solar connector and uses the same cord for solar as if we had our solar panels hooked up. And that uses this XT90 plug. Now this cord comes around and into the side of our Bluetti. This is bringing in power to the Bluetti to charge things. The other cord here is a regular 120 household cord. Now if we were plugged into campground power post, we could charge it that way, or even here at our house. That's the cord for that. We can also charge this using a 12-volt car type charger cord, but that takes 6 times longer. And we can charge it, of course, using our solar, and that would hook up to these same connectors. If we are running our camper cord, the 30 amp power shore power, we would bring it over through this little hole here, this little trap door, and bring it in and plug it right into the Bluetti. We reinforced the floor of this compartment with a big piece of plywood that had originally been used as a desktop, so there's still vinyl or naugahyde on it. Incidentally, in the corner are these new little packets called mouse repellent pouches from Grandpa Gus. I don't know if they work or not, but we haven't seen any mice yet. Back here padded in is also our Coleman cook stove. We'll have a couple other things in this compartment too. So this is going to be our power center for the Bluetti, and it's also where our plugins are for the inverter, if we're using that, and some other external outlets. So I think we're about ready to give this thing a trial. Once we have it figured out, we will mount that Bluetti DC to DC charger either to the side wall or up in the top or something. We don't know yet exactly where we'll put it. And yes, now he has it turned on. The power's coming in from the engine through the Bluetti charger. And it's coming in 14.4. The DC in, DC out is 56. And that is the setting specific for our Bluetti. Okay, we know that part's working just fine. Now we need to plug it in to the solar power cord with the XT90 connector. And now it's going to charge into the Bluetti itself. And now I can open up that app and we'll see what's happening there. This is kind of a reflective area here. There we go. Okay, there is 410 watts coming in, 407, whatever. It's coming into the Bluetti. The Bluetti's at 88%. We don't have anything going out. There's nothing plugged into it right now. But right now, the DC unit is charging our Bluetti. That's exactly the way we wanted it to work. Now Steve will work on cleaning up some of the wiring back here and mount this Bluetti DC to DC charger up to the wall. We're kind of determining we want it up against this side wall so we can see it and reach the breaker. We'll put a little Velcro on that, heavy duty Velcro. So that way we can still reach easily inside the compartment and pull the Bluetti out when needed. We do use it as a backup source in our home if the power goes out. So it looks like we are all set for having an alternative source of power for charging up our Bluetti while we're driving. And then we can use the Bluetti while we're camping instead of just rely on just the 2 wet cell Trojan batteries for our coach. To change over to lithium ion for our particular year of motorhome also involves changing over the inverter, changing over the charge controller, changing over the one-place digital input-output panel inside, and changing over the type of connections through our solenoid to even charge lithium-ion batteries right now operating our coach. So by choosing to supplement our system with the Bluetti instead of changing our wet cells, this is the next best thing. Because we use the Bluetti for other things, we already own it. So I think this is really going to work out well, especially for boondocking in the upcoming summer months. We'll let you know how it goes.
Now we're going to turn it off and see if the DC to DC unit will shut off and not drain off our chassis battery.
Yep, it has an automatic shut-off device, but it's supposed to be very smart. So we will watch this here. We still have reflection going on. Okay. There was 550 going in, 447, 452, 455. It's slowing down. Zero. There we go. It shut itself off. And we can double check that by going in here and going back to the charger, connecting. There we go. And it says that it is 0 going through it right now, or actually 12.6 coming in and 5.0, it's dropping down now. 4.6, 4.5. So it talks about how it needs to cycle down, and within, what did it say? Within 1 minute, it's totally disconnected. 3, 3.7, 3.6. Now, there are different settings on here. We can change the amount of charging that's going on, depending on if we want it going full blast or if we want to do what's called silent charge. That's a lesser draw, maybe less strain on the alternator if we wish. And also it can be set for different power stations, not just the Bluetti model we have. It can be set for about 95% of the power stations out there on the market, as long as they have a plug-in for solar charging. So here it's going down, 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 1.9, 1.8. Okay, so we get the idea. It's shutting itself down. And of course, we can at any time lean over and click the breaker to turn it off. 1.4, okay. So anyhow, you get the idea. So I think this is really going to help our power management when we're camping, because we do a lot more camping without power hookups than with. And incidentally, Steve put a little clamp right here because we just changed this strut, but it doesn't seem to be holding correctly. So I think we might have to change that out before we hit the road in a couple weeks.